It's an understatement to say that it is good to see you. And it's hard to believe. It's been over 16 months since anyone has sat in the seats of our beautiful sanctuary. I can't tell you how it fills the souls of your clergy team on the bema to look out and see each and every one of you. And actually, we've been doing that for the past 16 months, actually looking out and looking into the seats and seeing you because you show up. And we know you've been in this sanctuary throughout this period of time, but it is different when you're really, really here. It's different. And by the way, you get to meet Rabbi Steele in person. Could you please stand up? I knew this was going to happen. So I know I can speak for Rabbi Steele, cantorial soloist Todd Herzog, when I say that we have been longing for this moment. And by the way, the newest member of Temple Solel is Todd Herzog's mom, Toby Friedman. Toby, just wonderful for you to be here. And you're not a long-distance member. You have moved here, and we're just thrilled that you have. And to those joining us virtually over all these months, your presence via Zoom, and by the way, I know that's been all of you as well, but you're not alone tonight. All of these months via Zoom, live stream, Facebook, you have kept us grounded. We knew you were there, and we knew you would show up tonight as well. A silver lining of the pandemic is that it has forced us to think a little bit outside the box, try new ways of connecting, providing multiple access, including virtually, will be a legacy that we'll be carrying forward. And I do want to give a shout out to our COVID-19 task force and the Temple Board of Trustees for being an invaluable font of support, getting us through these unprecedented times. In particular, to our immediate past president, Doreen Feldberg, bearing the challenges with such grace, determination, and Ray, as you said at our first board meeting just last night, with a steady hand. Marianne Bloom and Toby Waxenberg, for adapting, as you both have with the Solel Preschool and the Raker Religious School, nothing short of heroic. To you, your teachers and staff, we owe an immeasurable debt of gratitude. Kathleen and Sonia and Linda and Elise. Of course, Peter Pishko, that is always, as he is right now, behind the scenes, but not that far behind. He's just in the sound booth. Behind the scenes, for everything that happens at Temple Solel. Peter, it's your dedication, passion, creativity, and hard work. To you and your staff, Peter, Jacqueline Johnson. Jacqueline here tonight, and Jacqueline, you're a newlywed, and your groom is right next to you. Michael and Jacqueline, just mazel tov to both of you. Yeah, you can clap for them. Why not? Peter, just no adequate words to express our thanks to you and your staff, Joan, Noni, Yelena, Alberto, who you've seen for all these years, Voyo here tonight, and Edson, and even to see the familiar face of Joe Pugh, our security man, that is, and for you to know, because I see Joe at the Jewish Community Center, Joe has been looking forward to being here, and how great for the first night. So for me personally, and I know I'm not alone, Shabbat was one of the keys getting through these past 16 months. Even at a physical distance, Shabbat brought us together as a community, as it continues to do. There was one prayer in particular, and actually as I'm looking at my bride, I could not have gotten through this without you. And this prayer in particular that has kept me spiritually tethered. As we breathe in, and let us do it together, as we breathe in the life-sustaining breath of Shabbat, I offer these words from Sidney Greenberg. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May the door of this synagogue open our hearts in gratitude to those who laid down their lives for America, as we remember them and the sacrifice they made this Memorial Day. May this synagogue be for all who enter the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. So with that, it's wonderful to be able to ask our newly installed president of Temple Solel, Ray Rader, to share some announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. So good to be here, and so good to be welcoming the people streaming from home. Announcements are back. So, Torah study is held every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. via Zoom so far, and also serves as a minyan for anyone saying Kaddish. Our weekly newsletter email contains opportunities to engage in the life of Solel. Take a moment to read it. There's lots of clubs and things going on, as have been throughout the entire 18 months, most with a lot having to do with Jacqueline, and get involved. Membership renewal packets have just been mailed, so please renew your membership at the highest level possible by June 30th. All right, so we can all enjoy Shabbat together. Please turn off your phones and put them away. If you're here in the sanctuary, if you're home, you can pretty much do what you want. And let's welcome Shabbat together. Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
You can do what you want, but we do see you. So there is something about this moment that is just new. It's new. We've never experienced it before, and I know we're all in a place of gratitude. So with that, the Shehechianu and Peter, I appreciate you moving to give us a little cool air in here. Thank you. So, Todd, you haven't forgotten how to sing the Shehechianu, have you?
I've still got that one.
Can you? Okay, let's hear it.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
Indeed, we thank God for sustaining us, for bringing us life, and for this very moment. As we open our Siddur to page 10, the words Hine ma tova manayim shevet achim gam yachad doesn't feel better than really being together with one another in person and virtually.
הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. How beautiful it is to be here, feeling like we belong, arm in arm, just like sisters and brothers, joined together in song. שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומנעים. שבת אחים גם יחד, שבת אחים גם יחד, שבת אחים גם יחד.
And on page 20, just a beautiful way to imagine Shabbat as you would welcome that person that you love the most, like a bride, is a, excuse me? Yeah. And you actually want to do something as radical as lighting candles in Kiddush? Hey, you know what? I'm just a little rusty, that's all. But thank you for that. We've got Ray Rader on the bima and going to invite your groom, your husband, Frank, to join you as you have the honor, Ray, of kindling our Shabbos lights, new president of Temple Solel, and then Ray, Frank, you will lead us together as a community with Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
And Frank, if you can lift the Kiddush cup, and together. Baruch atah Adonai
Eloheinu melech haolam
borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav
v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim ki כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת, מכל העמים, בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת.
Amen. Frankie, maybe you want to keep that ceremonial right now. You get a rain check on the wine at another time. As you, how wonderful! I'm looking out. Erica Burke, you're going to be leading Kiddush on this bima, I think in August of this year. How great that will be. And David Glassman, I know you're just getting ready for your bar mitzvah this next year as well. So it's good you're here. You can break the mystery of it. You're going to be on the bima leading Kiddush as well. So with that, now would be a good time for Lachadodi. So this is a plug. This is a plug for an opportunity to travel to Israel June of next year with Rabbi Steele and with Peter Pishko to go to the place where this setting, Lachadodi, was inspired. And when you're there, and I'm looking around, there's a number of our congregants that have been on a Solel trip to Israel, that have been to Tzfat, and it's not a stretch to see where that kind of inspiration comes from. And that inspiration is going to get channeled right now. Page 20.
Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat kavela. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat kavela. Shamor v'zachor b'libur echad, ishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, b'shem ultiferet v'litila. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat kavela. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat kavela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor habracha, merom shmi keder mesucha, sof ma'aseh v'machshava tchila. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat kavela. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat kavela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki ba'orech u'mi'ori, uri, uri, shir daberi, kevod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat kavela. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat kavela.
Invite you to rise in body or in spirit.
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. Lecha dodi likrat kala
Hello. So good to be here with you all. So we're going to turn to the Baruch Hu, which is on page 28, which is the call to worship. So if you're standing, please remain standing. This is the point in the service when we are officially called together. So how wonderful for us to be called together and to know that those who are out watching us virtually are here with us, and for all of us to be able to hear and see each other as we join together for the Baruch Hu. So page 28.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Do you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed. Le'olam va'ed.
A prayer praising God as Creator on page 30. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim.
Ahavat olam bet Yisrael Amcha ahavta Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu lemadeta Otanu lemadeta Al ken Adonai Eloheinu v'shomenu uv'kumenu nasiach b'chukecha ונשמח בדברי תורתך ומצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו באורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, נגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Please be seated. On page 36, we continue with Ve'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Please join me in the English on page 36. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand, and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God, Adonai Elohechem Emet. On page 39, we are reminded that we are in a partnership with God, a holy covenant to try to make this world better. So I'd invite you to please join me in the indented parts. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורתי לו אוסף אלה, נורתי לו אוסף אלה, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, כמוך נדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. מלכותך ראו בניך, חוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, זה לי ענו ואמרו, זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא תהילו אוסף אליך, נורא תהילו אוסף אליך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
If you'll look with me on page 43, at one of the English versions of the Hashkivenu, I think there just could be no truer words at this moment. It says, "Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms." And it is so wonderful to be together, and we're really reminded of that after so many months apart. And so we say to God, please help us to always feel this peace.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ושמור צאתנו שלום מעתה ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו
In this week's Torah portion, Miriam, Moses' sister, is afflicted with leprosy. And Moses wants more than anything for his sister to be healed. And so he reaches out to God in a simple prayer, a prayer of just 5 words. And he says to God, El na rafana la, God, please heal her. And so each week we say to God, God, please heal her and him and all who need healing. And on this week, we keep in our prayers Lori Elitzik, Marilyn Carson, Sarah Pedersen, Marla Folsom, Kim Barkov, Danny Barkov, Jake Levitt, Farrell Sachs, Marnay Solon, Paul Wilson, Eileen Schwartz, Dottie Braun Cohen, Fred Miller, Lenore Griefer, Beverly Morick, Rebecca Feldberg, Henry McFlicker, Harav Matityahu HaKohen Ben Shoshana, Dottie Grant, Kay Siegel, Joshua Miller, Michelle Gans, Jackie Gans, Elaine Sabin, Joshua Friedman, Paul Solon, Leslie Seligman, Nicole Hazen, Joni Thompson, Stephen Whitwell, Helen Epstein, Sandy Goodman, Andre Sayapin, Carol Brillman, Harav Meir Ben Devora, Jeff Lewis, Timothy Keller, Jessica Duval, Arlene Bonim, Rabbi Jason Holtz, Lucy Wall, Leon Wall, Allison Nilsson, Elaine Spurt, Kit Kasich, Eugene Nakampkin, Marian Waterston, Chris Burdick, Kim Summers, Jim Ryan, Bud Siddig, Lois Bell, Danielle Ehrlich, Reuven Moshe Ben Leah Avraham, and Riva Levy. And all others who are in our thoughts and prayers, join together in the prayer for healing that's on the back inside cover of your prayer book. El Na Rafana La.
El na rafana la, rafana la. El na rafana la, rafana la. Dear God of our ancestors,
Dear God of our ancestors,
help us renew our faith.
help us renew our faith.
Grant us a perfect healing.
Grant us a
Perfect healing. Bring peace to all our days.
bring peace to all our days.
El na rafana la, rafana la. El na rafana la, rafana la. Restore our strength of body.
Restore our strength of body.
Help clarify our minds.
Help clarify our minds.
Refresh our tired spirits.
Refresh our tired spirits.
Rejuvenate our life.
Rejuvenate our lives.
El na rafana la, rafana la. El na rafana la, rafana la. Thank you for all these blessings. Thank you for all these blessings. Throughout our days and nights. Throughout our days and nights. We celebrate the journey. We celebrate the journey. This precious gift of life. This precious gift of life. El na rafana la, rafana la. El na rafana la, rafana la. El na rafana la, rafana la. El na rafana la, rafana la.
Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel just barely made it out of Poland before Germany invaded Poland. And the way he was able to get out was by an invitation to the United States by Julius Morgenstern, who was the head of Hebrew Union College, the seminary that Rabbi Linder and I attended. And Julius Morgenstern worked to get many of the scholars of Europe out. And Abraham Joshua Heschel came to the United States and taught at HUC for 5 years, and then went on to teach at the Jewish Theological Seminary for many more years. And he is no longer living. He passed away in 72, but you may know he is a man who believed that Judaism teaches us not just rules, not just prayers, but gives us a very strong social justice demand, a mission to make this world better. And he marched with Martin Luther King Jr., and he was very involved in the civil rights movement. He was a man who really understood the importance of social justice, having seen himself how awful humanity can be at its worst. But he also very much believed in the connection to God, and that we can get so much by turning to God for strength, for the sense of energy, for the flow of teaching and wisdom that can come from God. And on page 47, in the middle here, you see a prayer or a writing from Heschel that really talks about, number one, not waiting for God to perform miracles for us, that we as humans have to be out there making the world better, but at the same time that we can turn to God for strength, for energy, for support. And so he wrote, prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits and God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, and rebuild a weakened will. With those words, we rise for the Amidah, which starts on page 46.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevii Geula Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah, Ata Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol, Ata Ra Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayeh Memunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Baal Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memid Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Ata Lechayot HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. Ata Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kdoshim B'chol Yom Yehallelucha Selah. Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
I invite you to be seated. We continue with a prayer for Shabbat at the bottom of page 54. Our God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot, and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness, and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai our God, grant as our heritage your holy Shabbat, that Israel, who sanctifies your name, may rest on it. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Mikadesh HaShabbat. And on page 57 and 56, you'll see the Ritzeh as we pray for God to find acceptable all of our prayers.
Ritzeh Adonai Eloheinu Ve'amcha Yisrael U'tefilatam me'ahava tikabel U'tehi ratzon Tamid avodat Yisrael Yisrael amcha El karov lechol korav v'neil avadecha v'choneinu שפוך רוחך עלינו ותחזינה עינינו בשובך לציון ברחמים ברוך אתה אדוני המחזיר שכינתו לציון.
So beautiful. Thank you. As we turn to the prayer for Thanksgiving on page 59, I first want to give us a moment to think of the blessings of the past week. I invite everyone just to think for a moment. And at the top of page 59, we join together. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, Hatov Shimcha, Ulacha Na'eh Lehodot. On page 60 is the prayer for peace. On this Memorial Day weekend, we are aware of how very much we need peace. We pray for our world to be at peace, for all of us to be secure. We ask God for God's help as we join in Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha Tasim leolam Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom טוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha. Tasim leolam, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום, בשלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך. תשים לעולם, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום, כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום.
We take some time now for our own prayers to God.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן.
Chevra, what an incredibly strange year this has been. Much has already been said and written about this pandemic. There were many lessons gleaned and, unfortunately, tons of heartbreak and angst, and fortunately, some silver linings as well. Probably if we were each going to give a first sermon about a different aspect or lesson, a first sermon upon coming back together, we might each speak about a different aspect or lesson from this pandemic. In fact, you might think about what sermon you would give. What lesson, above all else, stands out in your mind? I knew immediately what I wanted to speak about. You see, what I missed most this past year was you and people in general. It feels like we have been almost hermetically sealed off from each other this past year. And in the absence of normal human connection, I saw how very important acts of kindness truly are. And that is what I would like to focus on tonight. So imagine giving a sermon to an empty sanctuary, as Rabbi Linder and I have repeatedly over this past year. It is so weird. And stranger yet was hearing no comments about it after, because there was no oneg or gathering of people. So you're left to wonder, did anyone take it in? Did they like it? Did they hate it? Did they have a comment? Who knows? But then someone would reach out with an email to let me know that I was heard and that they gained something from my words. And that was so incredibly affirming. Usually it was just one or two people, but that simple communication made such a difference to my spirit. Or I would get a private chat from someone after I offered a Devar Torah at a board meeting or taught a lunch and learn. And the person would say, "Hey, that was great," or "Thanks for those words." And I was reminded how gratifying those comments can be. I realized how much my soul is nurtured by another person's caring remarks or actions. In this year of isolation, I saw other people light up too from the kindness of friendly encounters. We would be on Zoom about to have a class together or a Shabbat service. And we'd all be in those tiny little squares. And one person would forget about everyone else who was on Zoom, except his or her friend across the Zoom screen. You know what I'm talking about. And the person would say, "Hi, Shirley, how have you been?" And Shirley would be so thrilled for the kind inquiry and connection to another person. Or we would be in the middle of Torah study, and one member would take a friendly jab at another member's comment, and that friendship would be strengthened in that moment. As I look back on my life, through that photo album of memories that I have in my brain, as we all do, I see how often a kind act or a word brought sweet color and deep joy into my life. I think of handmade greeting cards from my children, a congregation which always sent flowers to the rabbis' homes before the high holy days, a woman in a congregation who greeted people at the Shabbat onegs with such sweet, sincere phrases like, "Honey, it is so good to see you." I remember meals brought to me when I was recovering from surgery. And I also, of course, think of times when I was the one reaching out with calls and visits to congregants and friends in their time of need. As I think back on all of these occurrences, I realize that one of the amazing things about kindness is that it usually does not cost much in time or in money or in energy. Truly, all of us can do it. And we all can then be part of this strong impact. And this seems the perfect time to say that I am so, so grateful to all of you who have reached out to welcome me. Thank you for helping me feel your presence, though I couldn't see you, and for feeling the warmth of this congregation in the midst of a pandemic. It has meant a great deal to me. I have felt so blessed by your kindness, and I am so glad that we are beginning to build connections with each other. I look forward to this year, to hopefully many, many more times in person. So what I have come to learn both personally and professionally is that kindness is powerful. It provides a glue between people, and it offers very real, needed support to each of us. When I think about what I have learned professionally, I am reminded of lessons for marital counseling, for example. How kind words between spouses can build that relationship and help it weather tough times. Marriages need positivity to grow, as do all human relationships. And I think, too, of lessons from our own Reform Jewish movement. Rabbi Rick Jacobs, who is president of our Union for Reform Judaism, considers kindness so important to the essence of creating modern Jewish communities that he set as his premier initiative the call for Reform congregations to engage in what he terms audacious hospitality. By this, he means that temples need to be warm and welcoming to everyone. Why? Because we all desire a religious community where we can feel at home and nurtured. In our overly materialistic, transactional world, our souls are eager for authentic support and warmth, and the temple should be a place that embodies those values. There is so much that could be said about Judaism's lessons about chesed, about kindness. I'm just going to say a little. First, the exemplar par excellence for this value in Judaism is actually God. We are taught, for example, that Torah is a gift of great kindness from God. It is, after all, the tree of life for our community. And through it, we learn the values, the holidays, and the stories that help make our lives meaningful and good. So we acknowledge God's kind gift in our daily prayers, as we did tonight, when we say, Ahavat olam beit Yisrael amcha ahavta, Torah otanu limadata. Everlasting love, God, you gave us by teaching us Torah. And of course, zooming out from the Jewish people, this whole universe and life itself are incredible gifts of generosity and kindness from God. Many places in the Psalms, for example, we see a fervent appreciation for God's gifts to us. In Psalm 89, the psalmist relishes God's gift of the world. The psalmist says, I will sing of the Lord's steadfast love forever. And then he says, Olam chesed yibaneh, the world is built on kindness. In Judaism, we can go all the way back to our first patriarch and matriarch, to Abraham and Sarah, to find human exemplars of chesed. We learn from them when they opened their home with great fanfare to 3 wanderers and provide them with a sumptuous meal. The stories are many in the Bible and in rabbinic tradition of the importance of kindness. But one of my favorite teachings is the one from the rabbinic tradition that says, a visit to someone who is ill takes away 1/60 of their illness. Now, I don't know if the math is exactly correct, but the concept sure is. The rabbis knew already long ago how helpful such a visit can be. In the 1990s, so even before the pandemic, Dr. Mary Pfeiffer wrote a book called The Shelter of Each Other. It is well worth reading. In it, she speaks of the challenges of the modern age. She notes, life is increasingly unstable, inconsistent, and hectic. She speaks of the need we all have for true, caring community. Dr. Pfeiffer asserts, the challenge now in this modern world is to connect, to repair, to bring people back together. And she mentions specifically Martin Buber, who argued that life is rich in proportion to the number of truly caring I-thou relationships that a person has. Relationships where we treat each other as made in God's image. By the way, the Jewish community is blessed by the fact that after 3,500 years of being a community, we know a thing or two about community. In the most recent Pew study on American Judaism, a significant percentage of Jews said they weren't so sure about their theological beliefs, but they continued to greatly value the Jewish community. Building community starts with care and kindness. So as we now rebuild our communities, as we come back together after 16 months apart, as we come back as a Jewish community, as neighborhoods, as extended families, as friendship groups, my hope is that we will prioritize kindness. May we take the time to inquire of someone's well-being, to build friendships, to offer a friendly word to a newcomer at our temple, to bring a meal to someone who is ill. All of these actions provide truly needed support and connection. As the psalmist taught, Olam Chesed Yibaneh, these acts of kindness do indeed build our world.
Olam chesed yivaneh, yalalai, lalai, lalai. I will build this world from love. Yalalai, lalai, lalai. You must build this world from love. Yalalai.
So I am going to invite, because I also forgot how to open up our ARC over the last 16 months. So David Glassman, Matthew, and Erica, I need you to come up and help me open up the ARC, please. I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but I need some help. And we are on page 282. Excuse me. I am so glad you told me that, because it's one of those things I would have been mortified. Jesse. All right. Pick a side, and it's a slider. Yep. Give it a slide. Perfect.
Please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגופי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
May be seated. Jesse, you may be seated. As we look to Memorial Day that we celebrate this weekend, the words from Hannah Senish seem to resonate more powerfully than ever. Yesh kochavim, there are stars above so far away we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. So for all those, again, who sacrificed their lives for our country, for America, for this democracy that still stands as a light among the nations, we remember them as we also do those in our Temple Solel community. And I will read their names, invite you to rise within the sanctuary or within your homes after the name of your loved one is read. In the period of Shiva, the 30 days of mourning, Viviana Mankita. And in the period of Shaloshim, the 30 days of mourning, Steve Friedman, Gertrude Krupnik, Philip Allweiss, Donald Sloan Hurwitz. And within the first year of mourning, Dina Katz, Rose Amendola, Reuben Sabin, Dr. Skip Feinstein, Hayden Parker Bielenberg, and those whose yahrzeits we observe this week. Jean Boland, Edith Charon, William Dobbs, Leon Fessler, Robert Philman, Ethel Friedman, Benjamin Freefield, Seymour Gould, Max Goldman, Judith Hart, Jacob Kaufman, Marion Kaufman, Dave Kazin, Russell Krusky, Fred Shorty, Fred Ligerman, Larissa Lipp, Milton Meltzer, Russell Millman, Morris Moss, Marie Murray, Cecilia Pakin, Carl Pindler, Richard Pratt, Theodore J. Prouda, Laura Rothschild, Rose Schwartz, Melvin Siegel, Claire Schindel, Ilana Singer, Hal Slans, Henry Slater, Sarah Smulian, Elena Joy Steinberg. Are there any other names you wish to recall this evening before we recite the Mourner's Kaddish. And we think of those who lie in unmarked graves. We praise God for their lives as well as we stand for the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach erute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon v'yomechon, uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei dekudsha barichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleina v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleina v'al kol Yisrael, Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to Israel, and to all the world, to which we say, Amen. And again, this Shabbat and into Memorial Day, with America the Beautiful on page 377, we honor those who have fought for our country.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains, majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, God, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. Oh, beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleamed, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
And as we thank God for the abundance in our lives, that sustains us physically and that which sustains us spiritually. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thanks for showing up. Shabbat Shalom. Shkorak Rabbi. Beautiful. Perfect sermon. Would you like an untouched olive? You want to take it out? I'll give it. Todd, how about an untouched olive? Great to see you. So, great to be here. Yeah. So, in a nutshell, and we'll make sure it's more than a nutshell, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty bored this summer. Job,
Yeah. And what job?
it's just a restaurant.
In what's the restaurant?
Either LGOs or Egos.
Yeah. Well, I know LGO.
Egos is just right across the street.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So, if you're, when are you gonna start? You're not sure which place.
Probably next week or so.
Yeah. Well, if it's at LGO's, I think next weekend. Great seeing you, and some point over the summer. Yeah, I'd love to catch up. Good. Good. Good seeing you. Give your mom a hug. Hey, Steve. Good to see you.